let's start out with probability. Probability, part of it has to do with an experiment. We've all done experiments in science before, right, guys? Yeah. Probability is all an experiment. It's all experimental. So, it's an investigation of a procedure with varying results. So it's an investigation of a procedure with varying results. One experiment that we can do with probability is flipping a coin. So that would be our experiment, is dealing with flipping of a coin. So then the outcome of that is a possible result from the experiment. So the outcome is whatever the result is of the experiment that you are performing, which in this case, if we're flipping a coin, you guys, what's my possible result? No, the results. Heads or tails. Thank you. We can get a heads or a tails. Those are our possible results that we can get. Does that make sense, guys? Then it talks about the sample space. This is the set of outcomes. So you guys just told me that heads or tails is a possible outcome. So that means my sample space is that like weird looking bracket that's really hard to draw. And then it's heads, comma, tails. And then you close that weird looking bracket. That's just what a sample space looks like. It's all the possible outcomes written inside of a bracket.
Do you write it kind of like a 3? Or how do you write it?
Draw a bracket. So then here are some kind of what I mean by this. So like number 1, it says a state that begins with the letter O. We want to write our sample space, meaning what are my possible outcomes that we put inside that bracket. So I would draw that funky looking bracket as best I can. And then I would list the states that start with the letter O. So someone tell me what's one state that starts with the letter O. Claire?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Addison? Oregon. Bennett? Ohio. And that is all of them. So then I would close my bracket. And then I would list the total number of outcomes. So what's my total number of outcomes, you guys? So the sample space is just what are all of the outcomes? And that's all it is. Does that make sense, guys? So how many days of the week are there?
7.
So my outcomes is 7 because there's 7 days of the week. And then inside those brackets, I would write the days of the week. And I am going to abbreviate and close the brackets. Any questions on what a sample space is? Any questions about how to find the total number of possible outcomes? All right, so probability. Probability is the measure of likelihood. So it's the measure of likelihood of a specific outcome. And then it's noted as this P and then whatever you're asking for in parentheses, whatever they want to find. So P, capital P is probability. So if you look at the examples down below, it says the probability of spinning a 9, a probability of spinning at least 12, a probability of a perfect square, a probability of not shaded. So whatever's inside parentheses is what they want the probability of. Does that make sense, guys? So when we do probability, it's expressed as a ratio of favorable outcomes to the total number of outcomes. All probability is written as a ratio, and what's another word like how we would write it? Instead of calling it a ratio, we can also call it a fraction. And if it can be written as a fraction, that means it can also be written as a
Decimal.
and a
Percentage.
So all probability can be written as a fraction, a decimal, or a percent, or all three. The deal with probability is that the sum of all probabilities in a sample space, so right here, if we have the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if we were to add all of the probabilities of all of that together, it's going to equal what? 100. It would equal 1 or 100%. All probability, no matter what, adds up to 1 or adds up to 100%. Always. Any questions so far? Alright, so we're going to do this example at the bottom. And it's saying that I want the probability as a fraction in simplest form, a decimal to percent. We're not going to worry about decimals and percentages right now. We're going to only worry about fractions in simplest form. Understood? So if I want the probability of spinning a 9, when I look at this spinner, I notice that there are the numbers 1 to 16. No numbers repeat. Some are unshaded, some are shaded. So what would the probability of spinning a 9 be? 1/16, because there is 1 9 out of 16 total. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, here's where it can get a little tricky, because it's not just based on what number they want. It could also just be at least 12. So I have to know what at least means. Does at least means greater than 12 or less than 12? Greater than. Does it include 12?
Yes.
So I need to know how many numbers are 12 or more, which is 5 out of how many total? So your probability of getting a 12 or greater, at least 12, is 5/16. Questions on that? Okay, here's where these problems can get a little tricky, because you have to have a little bit of background knowledge to know what things mean, right, guys? Like, for instance, we have to remember what a perfect square is. It's been a while since I said that word. Does anyone remember what a perfect square is? Lucille?
A number where you can multiply two numbers that are the same to get that number.
Excellent. So it's taking two numbers that are exactly the same, multiplying together and getting whatever that answer is. So Lucille, give me one of them. 16, because 4 times 4 is 16. Does that make sense, guys? So 16 is a perfect square. So we got one. What would another one be? Gavin?
12.
Nope, because now two numbers that are exactly the same can multiply together to get 12. I don't know how to call you. Morgan.
4.
Why 4?
2 times 2.
Because 2 times 2 is 4. So I've got 2 now. Campbell. 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. Aubrey? 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. So how many perfect squares did we have? Out of how many total numbers? Did that make sense how we got the 4? Now I have 4/16. What do I need to do? What does 4/16 simplify down to? 1/4. Questions on that? Okay, I want you to do D, E, and F with your partner. Fractions only, please. Go. All right. Number 20. What's the probability of not getting a shaded one?
7/16.
Excellent. 2. What's the probability of getting a 2 or an 11?
1/8.
How'd you get 1/8?
I got 2/16 and then I simplified.
Perfect. So 2/16 was the original, 1/8 is what you have to write because you got to put it in simplest form. Nice job. And number 11, what's the probability of getting a multiple of 5? 3/16. All right, guys, any questions on how to get the fractions? All right, now we have to get the decimals and the percentages. How do we get the decimals and the percentages? What do I do, Claire? I would do 1 divided by 16. What about on this one? What about this one? Should we have that one memorized? So should we just be able to write down that answer? What is it? So 0.25 and 25%. If you have them memorized, guys, don't use your calculator. You don't need to. Write it down. Okay, so with you and your partner, you guys, if you don't have your calculators out, get them out. Give me the decimals without rounding, no rounding, and the percentages. Once again, no rounding. Leave your answer as is. Got it? Go. All right. 8. What's the decimal of 1/16?
0.0.
Number 8.
0.065.
And the percentage?
6.25.
And don't forget that percent sign, okay, guys? Nicely done. 19. What about B?
The decimal is 0.3185.
And the percentage?
31.25%.
Perfect. 24. What's D?
40.75%.
Um, Very nicely done. 4. What's E?
0.125 and then 12.6%.
That was also one of the decimals, fraction decimal percents that you guys should have had memorized. 13. What's the last one?
0.1875.
Very nicely done. Any questions on going from a fraction to a decimal to a percent? Is that coming back to us? Maybe so? Okay, guys, we can now flip to the next page. Okay. So we're going to do number 4. It says a month of the year is chosen at random. Find the probability of each. So with your partner, give me just the fractions for A, B, and C. Please go. Okay. Let's go over these answers. What is the probability, everyone, that we get a month that starts with J? Which is? Good. What are the 3 months that start with a J? Good. What's the probability I'll pick a month that starts with a T? Good. Okay. Next one, trickier, because you have to know how many days are in each month. I saw a lot of you using your resources as in your planners. Very smart idea. You guys, I have no problem with you using resources that you have around you. Obviously, on a test, I can't allow that. Okay? But for homework, for notes purposes, use your resources. Understood? Use what you've got. I strongly encourage you, don't go to the internet and type in, what's the probability I'll pick a month that has 30 days? Because guess what? The internet's just going to tell you the answer, right? They're not going to tell you how to get the answer. So don't do that because that won't help you. Yeah, it'll give you the right answer, but it's not going to help you understand it. So I'd rather you use your resources or go to the computer or the internet and ask how many months have 30 days or less. And it should hopefully tell you, right? So how many months have 30 days or less? Out of how many total? Here's the trick. You guys ready? It's knuckles. You guys, any of heard of this?
Yeah.
So these knuckles, your knuckles are your tricks. The knuckles represent 31 days. Inside the knuckles represent 30 days or 28/29 for the month of February. So if you point on the knuckle, start at January. January has 31 days. February's inside the knuckle, so it is the 28/29 days. The knuckle March has 31. Inside the knuckle is April, has 30 days. May's the knuckle has 31. June has 30 days. July has 31 days. August has 31 days. September has 30 days. October has 31 days. November has 30 days. And December has 31 days. So that's your trick for how you can remember it. Got it? Okay. I don't want you guys writing down the decimals. On your homework, you're only going to have to write down the fractions and the percentages, okay? So I have 1/4 here. What's my percentage, everyone?
25%.
I have 0. What's my percentage?
0%.
Use your calculator and figure out 5/12 for me, please. Go. Don't say it out loud yet, but you can show it. Make sure you and your partner agree. What do we get? 0.6. I don't want a line over in my percentages. 7. Because what do we have to do? We got around. So 41.67. Very nicely done, guys. All right, with your partner, do number 5. A, B, and C. Give me only the fractions. No percentages right now. Go. Okay. Everyone, what's the probability of getting a B? Good. What's the probability of getting a vowel? 4. Y is not a vowel. It can be considered a vowel in certain words, but it's not considered a vowel. It's when they say, if you were to break them up, what are your vowels and your consonants? Y is not a vowel. So it's only the vowels. And what's the probability of getting a Y? Give me the percentages. Go. 2/11. Remember, I just want the percentage. What's my percentage? 18.18%. 4/11. 1/11.
9.09%.
Very good. Do number 6 with your partner, please. Fractions only. All right, guys. What's the probability of getting a yellow, colored pencil? Why 1/4? Good. It was originally 6/24, which equals 1/4 when you simplify it. What's that percentage, everyone?
25%.
Okay, what's the probability of getting blue or purple? And 10/24 simplifies down to? And what's the probability of not getting orange? And why 7/8? Good, it was originally 21/24, which equals 7/8. Write down the percentages for B and C, please. Go. Okay, guys, what is the percentage of 5/12? Did we already do that one? Yeah, just go up and look at it. You already did it. No need to redo it. What's 7/8? And that one, hopefully, is still memorized. All right, guys, any questions so far? Okay, number 7 is a little tricky because it says a card is chosen at random from a standard deck of cards, which means you have to know what is in a deck of cards to be able to answer this question, right, guys? Okay, if you are a card person, you probably know. But if you're not a card person, you probably have no clue without actually looking at a deck of cards, right? So on this question, you should be going to a deck of cards to literally figure out how much it is. Is that understood? Now, I'm going to help you, so it'll make it a little bit easier. So I want to know the probability of getting a queen. First of all, someone tell me how many cards are in a deck of cards. How many, you guys?
52.
So write down there, 52 total cards. Every standard deck of cards has 52 total cards. So who can tell me how many queens there are in a standard deck of cards? Eva?
There's 4.
There are 4. So that means the probability of getting a queen is what?
452.
And then that can be simplified. So simplify that down for me. Make sure it goes into simplest form. You can totally use your calculator to help you simplify, guys. What are we getting? 1/13. That is because in a deck of cards, we have 4 what are called suits. Spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. 4 suits, and each suit has 13 cards. King, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, ace. So 13 cards, 4 suits. Each suit has the same cards, and they equal 52. So I want to know the probability of getting a red 3. Well, if there are 4 queens, how many 3s are total in the deck?
4.
There are 4 3s. Does that make sense, guys? Question is how many of them are red? 2. Because 2 are red and 2 are black. So there are 2 red 3s out of 52 total cards. Have to simplify it down again. Which equals 1/26. There are 26 red cards in the deck. There are 26 black cards in the deck. Then what's the probability of getting a spade? How many? 13 out of? Which should simplify down to 1/4. So on questions like those, guys, if it's at home, you're on your homework, you're at your study guide, whatever the case may be, find a deck of cards and use it. Or go to the internet, find a deck of cards and manipulate the deck of cards. Got it? Questions? We're going to skip the percentages on that one, and we're going to move to the bottom because I want to make sure I explain this bottom to you. Where we're talking about the complement of an event. So the complement of an event is the probability of the event not occurring. So since the sum of all probabilities in a sample space is 1 or 100%, right? The probability of it not occurring is 1 minus whatever the probability of that event is. So here's what I mean by that if we look at number 8. The probability that will rain tomorrow is 3/8. So what's the probability that will not rain? 5/8, because you're doing 1, you're minusing 3/8 from it, which equal 5/8. It's the complement of whatever you're given. So if 3/8 chance that it's going to rain, that means I have a 5/8 chance that it's not going to rain. So same thing with number 9. If the probability that someone will win a game at the carnival is 1 out of 24, what's the probability that they will not win? 23 out of 24. It's the complement of whatever you're given. Now, they're not always going to give you the fraction of what the probability is. You'll have to find that out sometimes, like number 10. It says a number from 1 to 20 is chosen at random. What's the probability that it is not prime? Which means we have to find what? Prime numbers. So with your partner, see if you guys can figure out how many prime numbers there are from 1 to 20. Go. Okay. What are we thinking? First of all, what's a prime number? Good. Only one in itself can go into that number, right? So, what number, or how many numbers from 1 to 20 are prime? Nope. 8. 8. Is 1 a prime number? No. 1 is neither prime nor composite. It's neither. Because 1 goes into everything, doesn't it? So it's not prime nor composite. So it's not 1, but we would have, is it 2? 3? What about 4? 5? 6? 7? 8? 9? 10? 11? 12? 13? 14? 15? 16? You guys skipped 13. 13's prime. What number am I on? 17. 18. Did I skip 13?
No, you said 13.
So it's 2, 3, 5, 7, 13. I did say 13, I just didn't put it up. Oh, 11, 13, 17, 19, 8. So that means if there are 8 prime, there are how many not prime? Out of how many total?
20.
And what do I have to make sure I do with that? Put it into simplest form. Which is what, you guys? All right. Do I have any questions at all? We are not going to worry about number 11. So that means we'd have to know how many states begin with the letter M, and I don't really feel like looking it up. Okay? So, questions. Very basics of probability. It obviously gets more complicated, but this is the basics. So, questions, guys?